nations are not sustained by borders. They are sustained by the stories they tell themselves. Over the years, I've realized that when we say Canadian cinema, it's rather desire for construction of identity that does not exist yet. Mm-hmm. You know, for example, for a very long time, we couldn't make films beside French, English, and native languages. Only last year, I think, Telefilm finally said, hey, other people have a right to tell stories in their mother tongue as well. I think we have started just now in the past with the political changes south of the border, which was an awakening in terms of who are we as Canadian. Apparently, we are not Americans. They don't want us. So that awakening has definitely consequences for our stories. And part of that story, from my perspective as a brown man, is what we bring to table of what Canadian is. I think Canada right now is the only English language country that has co-productions with Europe, which allows stories of all walks of lives to be told. That is, I think, one of the flavors that will contribute to what it means to be a Canadian film. Like my film was a Turkish language film, entirely shot in Turkey. And a lot of folks here were surprised. Oh, is that Canadian? And my question is, what is Canadian? Because nobody knows what is Canadian, right? I think we are at the formation. Is Cronenberg definition of Canadian cinema? Is Atom Egoyan foundation of Canadian cinema? I think they are part of a story that it will start being formed in these decades in front of us.
I've never met anyone else from another country besides Canada who is so obsessed with the concept of what is a Canadian film. Like other countries don't really talk about this so much. Like you don't go to France and say, what is a French film? You know, it's Canada that has this obsession with like defining our identity, and there is no Canadian cinema, I think, because like you said, there's no Canadian identity in a homogenous way.
You have to put lots of maple syrup in our movie to pour it on the film.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think that we don't have a culture that is specific as a identity cinematically speaking. And I think because we are a lower budget country, like we're not making, you know, Hollywood level movies, there's more documentaries, there's more films that are experimental, but that's not an identity. That's just limited resources. And what comes out of that is interesting. My conception of Canadian cinema growing up, I think, was just the NFB.
I think NFB was an importance.
Yeah. And like my parents would play those short films for us as kids. Like those were pretty defining for me. And I thought, that's interesting. That's something that seems Canadian, I guess. There's an obsession with that definition, I think. It's funny because we're in Canada's top 10. But
it's a multitude.
Yeah, I think also because we live so close to the U.S., there is this desire to define ourselves against the U.S., but then there's oftentimes something that happens like a replication of an American style movie, but without the American budget, kind of replicating this American indie style, but it's not actually possible to do without the budgets or without the star system. Like I think that's why seeing films that are more based on accepting the limitations and embracing them within the Canadian landscape that are more interesting to me.
But you've been in this industry like longer than us. Have you seen it change a lot? Have you seen it like...
Well, I'm way up there in the hierarchy. So you guys are down. So I'm missing a lot.
Yeah.
But when I started coming down to these festivals, I'm seeing these art films that I couldn't even understand what's going on, what the message is. I guess that's what Canadian cinema is. That's what I thought. But
film that you don't get the message.
Because I was trying to do films with a meaning and trying to bring my culture. My first audience are my Inuit audience, because if I make a mistake, they would know. And if it's good for them, we run it through the festival. That's what I noticed. When I first started coming down here, it was art film. That's what I saw.
I grew up in the country. I grew up on a farm. We had 3 channels. So my exposure to media would be limited to Sunday night Disney movies and the NFB commercials that were interspersed among everything. I remember getting up at like 6 in the morning to watch cartoons from 6 until 10 when my parents would wake up. So I got a lot of, and I don't know, most of those probably weren't Canadian, but from my experience growing up in the country, what I did experience was time outside and time for like developing an imagination without a constant barrage of images coming at me, which now, I see I have 2 boys, and I'm really intentional about
What they watch.
limiting screen time or providing them with things I think are good movies. And then they're like, Mom, no more boring art films. Because I want them to know what a quality work is, an intentional work, something that took time and paid attention to the story and the composition, the color, all of these things.
I think maybe I propose a framework here. And instead of saying what is Canadian cinema, maybe we should say, do we have narrative sovereignty? Are we telling our own stories? Or someone else is telling our stories, right? For example, in a very funny way, Heated Rivalry maybe is our story, right? It's telling a story that is ours, right? So instead of just bluntly opening our channels and giving social media data centers to the Americans and everything, opening for American as a market and letting them shoot our cities as their cities because it's cheaper, maybe the politicians also should step in and care about the sovereignty of our stories, because if we don't nurture the stories we tell, and we don't make a political effort to support them, then sovereignty is just a fancy word that is thrown around at ski resorts for billionaires. Right?
But it's just, I don't want to bring old political subjects in the discussion about identity, but like it's growing up in Quebec, like the vision of what's Canadian identity was kind of weird. It's not the same because like with the Francophone culture there, it's like we didn't have too much vision of what was the Anglo culture of Canadian cinema. And in the top 10 for me, it's just like it's an opportunity to see what's made like outside of Quebec, because the thing is, it's also, I guess, important if we want to have an identity as Canadian cinema for us in Quebec. Like it feels like not lots of movies that come from other provinces are shown in Quebec, and I guess it's the same that Quebec movies are not shown outside of Quebec in the rest of Canada. So like even in our home country, we don't have access to all the identities, and I mean, it's including the movies from the territories and all that. So it's so diverse, and so it's hard to grasp and see everything that it's made. Like,
it's a really good point. There's a real aversion from Canadian audiences, it seems, to watch Canadian films because maybe there's question about Canadian cinema. People don't understand what it is, so their expectation is, I don't know if it's low or if it's just not there, but it seems like, now having made one feature, it's like talking to distributors, everyone we spoke to was just like, yeah, like good luck, like it's gonna be really hard. That was the energy I felt like from many conversations. But ultimately, I'm like, I think it's sad that there's this like aversion to Canadians wanting to watch Canadian films. They only want to watch like American films, or like we've spoken about a lot, this like issue with the Francophone, Anglophone division, and the fact that your incredible film is potentially not going to play in like Anglophone Canada is like bizarre, because Eric and I played like many of the same festivals with our films and across many different cultures and countries, and obviously there's an audience there that wants to see the film. And you said one of your best screenings was here at TIFF. Like
totally, my second screening at TIFF was awesome, and I felt like, okay, people can relate to the movies and like have real emotions about it. And so I'm like, so I hope lots of people will see it, but it's like, but it's tough. And it's tough even in our own country. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. The access to our own culture is.
There's this whole inferiority complex about being Canadian, I think, where you have to go outside.
Yeah, it's always there.
You have to go outside of Canada or go outside of your city and get some stamps that are proving your worth somehow back to Canada. Yeah. And then Canada's interested, maybe.
It seems like they want that, but then they also are like hostile to when that happens. It's like both. I've experienced both sides of that, you know. Where
You never
it's just
win.
Like, yeah, like it's like there's a desire.
You're not enough, you're too much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't think it should be that way. You know, like you're saying, like if there's a outside acceptance, why should there be a resistance to then bringing that acceptance here to have people engage with it? It seems like backwards to me.
And there are ways for us to look at other countries, what they did. Korea is a fantastic example how they nurtured their mainstream cinema, and now they're conquering the world, right? With their TV series, look at what Parasite did and all of that. So I think there should be a willingness from us to look at what other people did. What can we learn from them, right? So maybe we shouldn't be so arrogant that we know everything, right? We don't, right? Let's see how Korean get to where they are, right?
No.
South Korea.
Yeah. People always say there's a scarcity mindset in Canada. And I think it's very interesting. So I do believe it's just a mindset because in many ways I do believe as Canadians we're very privileged and there's an abundance of opportunity to receive funding. Like we have the Canada Council for the Arts, we have Telefilm. As much as it's bureaucratic and, frustrating and all these things, the opportunity to get to apply for arts funding is actually incredible.
Keep applying. Like you can be rejected and you just keep applying. I did not get post-production funding until my film was done and starting to show.
Yeah.
But it came in September, but it was 2-3 applications. So you can not give up. You just keep applying. Eventually,
the opportunities are there, and it's
eventually someone will say yes.
Yeah, because I mean, when you play festivals in the U.S., you meet American filmmakers, independent ones. When I meet those people, I'm like, I would not survive as a filmmaker in America. Like if I was living here as someone who doesn't have family means, and I was without health insurance and then trying to make a film on top of that, we actually are living in an immense privilege to have the opportunity to apply 100%. For funding. And I meet these American filmmakers. I met this very young filmmaker when I was in Germany, and he was explaining to me how he financed this film. He was living at home with his parents, and he was selling tiles on the side to finance his movie. And I'm like, Canadian filmmakers could never. It's just not. It's not. There's an entitlement to the.
We were in Budapest, and I get to talk to some students, and they were studying cinema in Budapest, and with the regime there, and it's
insane.
It's insane, and I got to talk about the short film that I did and the budget that I had, and immediately I felt the room getting cold. What are you talking about with your budget for your short film? And I was like, oh, I feel that. And I'm like, I know. And there, if you don't do movies for your government where it's Orban is the greatest or anything, it's you don't get funding. And I'm like, okay, it's totally is a privilege here.
Yeah, I think it's important to see the other side of it. As much as we can complain, it's actually, there becomes an entitlement within the culture that there should be an expectation that you should get funding and that you should get this and that, but we're actually in a system where other countries and other filmmakers could never have these opportunities at all to begin with. So I feel we all spend a lot of time complaining, but I'm also this is actually, we're living in an abundance in a way.
In the Canadian film financing system, it's all government. That's the system we are in. If we're lucky, we meet deadlines. So when I'm independent, I'm doing projects, 2 projects at a time to put food on the table. So that's what I do. Mm-hmm. What about you guys? What do you guys do?
For my, what do I do? Put food on the table?
Yeah.
Actually, that's such a good question.
Yeah, I'm a screenwriter first, so I'm doing a lot of screenwriting job. This is my first film as a director, but usually I'm able to live with my screenwriting money. as a screenwriter, I can be on different, like I can be on a draft, or I can be just at the beginning of a project, so I can put lots of things.
Seems like Amalie was trying to kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. I've never met another Canadian screenwriter who can make a living. You're the only one.
I know, I'm aware of the privilege.
No, it's just, I mean, obviously you worked hard and that's, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's being open also to different type of cinema. Like, not lots of screenwriter would do like a big commercial movie like I did in Quebec, like on big comedies. And for me, that was really fun and important to do it just because like, maybe that's the only movies that my mother was gonna watch. So it was like, it's fun just to participate. So I think I did my mark in Quebec because I was able to work on really different project and not just focus on art films or just focus on commercial. I'm just like, I'm going to do everything because I like cinema.
I do think it's a good question about how people survive though. Like, do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah, I want to hear what you do.
I've always been just a freelance, just like a smattering of freelance things. And so I've done a lot of like graphic design jobs and then cutting trailers. So that's kind of like side hustle stuff, but I've also always worked in movie theaters. And so right now I am working at the Fox Theater. I'm a manager there. That's the best, the Fox.
I do a couple of other jobs. I have 3 full-time jobs. I teach, I run a company, and I write for other people. Usually doesn't pay. And that's how I survive. You know? I don't make money through this. This is
Through filmmaking, yeah.
No.
It's a joke if anyone thinks that we're making money as directors, like for directing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It costs me a lot to be here.
Yeah.
Right today.
Or maybe if you do commercials or like something like that. But I see my friends who live by being directors. I'm like, damn, this is maybe do television and all that, but it's working just as in cinema. Being a director, you do a project each 5 years if you're lucky, and it's like, how do you manage to live? Like,
and I will say, just for transparency, the only way I was able to direct my film and survive during that time, because I wasn't working, was my best friend from high school invested money in me because she had received like an inheritance and she wanted to invest money so I wouldn't have to work during that period. So she gave me money literally to live on while I was making the movie, and otherwise I would not have been able to pay my rent. Yeah.
Can you introduce her to us?
Yeah. No, that's my secret. No, but like, really, she really, you know, it was an incredible moment, you know, in my life and our friendship. But it was just, she saw that I don't have like intergenerational wealth or whatever, and she was like, I want to be your support system. And I think like that level of community and support is really incredible.
That's a huge gift.
Yeah, such an incredible gift. I would not have been able to like make my movie without that.
I feel that. Yeah. In the post-production days, it was so tough because all of a sudden I'm paying music rights that I didn't expect because the musician I had worked with wasn't signed when we had this verbal agreement. And then they became signed, and then they wanted like crazy amounts of money that it worked out. I don't want to publicly say anything more about that.
Yeah.
But a friend was like, a couple of friends came through because there was no budget in the end. And you're trying to finish. It's got into festival. You've got to finish. You've got to get all the rights together.
Yeah.
I think the fact that the 5 of us are sitting here from different walks of life have managed to make a movie, it tells us that Canada is as slow as it is. It's going in the wrong direction, and it's because we are pushing it in the wrong direction. Sorry, in the right.
yeah, that's what I was like. Where is he going?
Right.
Are we wrong? What did we do?
It's going. Let me rephrase because they cannot cut it. I was trying to give them a
We are
little
the problem.
bits that they can cut.